everybody.
Good morning.
A nice warm welcome to everybody here to Dick's Sporting Goods Park on this beautiful morning as we introduce our new head coach. And before we kick off, just want to acknowledge a couple of people that we're delighted to have with us today. We're joined by Matt Hutchings, our team governor and the COO and Executive Vice President of KSE. We're also joined by Manny Rodriguez, who is the Chief Marketing, Experience and Customer Officer of UC Health. And I also want to pay a special tribute to our supporters who are joining us, many of them online, but also we've got with us today Dave Wegner and Miguel Cifuentes, who we're delighted could be here representing C38 and Los Locos. I think many of you will know all about the gentleman to my left. I do think it's worthwhile, though, just taking a moment to talk about some of his achievements and some of the things that he's done. Chris is one of only a very small handful of people who have won the Supporters' Shield as both a player and a coach. That's an incredible achievement. I think his record as a player speaks for itself, and I think is right up there at the very top when it comes to the credentials that he brings to the table. As a player who's an MLS Cup champion, a Supporters' Shield winner, as I've mentioned, he also won, I think, 4 US Open Cups, was selected to the MLS Best 11 on 5 occasions, and on 6 occasions was an MLS All-Star. On a coaching side, he coached the Red Bulls, as I said, to the Supporters' Shield back in 2018, taking over in the middle of the year and finishing that out and winning that title, and then proceeded to take them back to the playoffs the next year. Coached Toronto FC in a very challenging COVID period, and then embarked on a career in Europe, which saw him scale heights that not many American coaches have done before. It saw him go to the very, very top and coach at one of the biggest clubs in the world and with some of the biggest players in the world at Manchester United, and then continue that journey at Leeds United. So Chris brings a tremendous amount of experience to the table with us. But one of the things that stood out to me as we went through this process was that everywhere I turned, whether other team presidents, team GMs, agents, and most tellingly players that have played under him, both here in the US and abroad, all spoke about the type of person he was, the type of character and the type of leader he was going to be. So it gives me great honor on behalf of Mr. Kroenke, Josh, Matt, and the entire organization to present Chris Armas as the next head coach of the Colorado Rapids.
Thanks, Pádraig. What a special day for me and my entire family. And the fact that so many media are in the building here to share in that. A lot of my new coworkers that I've gotten to know pretty well so far. Just to share in this day means a lot to me and my family. I want to take us back a little bit here in this process where it started a few months ago. It started with listening to Pádraig, post-season press conference when there was a coaching change. And I was just listening, and there was a bunch of job openings in the league, and listening to him talk about the team, the direction, where they need to get back to, just really listen to it. I listened to it twice. Watching the team play down the stretch, actually at the end of the year, watching the team fight, watching them stick together when, okay, is there maybe no chance to get into the playoffs, but they stuck together, and I saw a certain hunger in the team. I saw fans coming out, and me and my son were saying, look at the crowd. They're there. They're still supporting the team. I just noted it at that time before I called my agent and said, Ron, let's get on this. It was then the conversation with some of the key members at the club, Pádraig on a Zoom call, that they shared with me who they're about, gave me a chance to talk through who I was about, and I did sense urgency. They talked a lot about winning, getting back to winning, which not too long ago, the club was there. So when I hung up that Zoom, I really felt it was a good fit. You say sometimes they're interviewing me, I'm interviewing them. I really was looking for a good fit that fit into where I want to be, where I think exactly what I need and maybe what the club needs. So here I am, really honored to be sitting here today. And after a few weeks of working with some folks already, I do know it's a good fit. firstly, with KSE, with Stan and Josh, I have to be completely grateful for this opportunity. They are winners. They're successful for reasons. It's not just about, just about winning, because I think they get the culture part right, the people first. I can relate to that. So I'm really grateful to join a winning ownership group. Again, Pádraig, for the belief in me through the process, but also, Wayne and Fran, Ruth, Brian, and Chris, there's others. But the best part about that process, and it was thorough, it was really thorough, and again, it makes me even more proud that they selected me, because I'm sure that some really, really good folks came through. That I went through that process, and along the way, you got to know who I was, and again, I got a real sense, and the fact that you saw something in me, if my mother and father were hiring, I'm in. But the fact that people on the outside can look deeper into it and say, "Hey, you're our guy," it means a lot. I'm going to work hard to win for you guys. To my players, my boys that I'll get meeting in the next days, I'm honored to be your coach. I can't wait to get started. And once again, to our fans, we have good fans, and I know that. I do. I really am looking forward to sharing the new direction, the philosophy, our playing style with you, getting to meet you, and, most importantly, delivering what you want. And we're going to be a team that plays with intensity. We're going to play home and away. We're going to go after games, and I can assure you we're going to be a team that sticks together and is clear on our philosophy, but make no mistake, we're going to be an attacking team. So with that, we can kick it up here, I guess.
Perfect. So we'll now go to questions. The first one will be virtual. We'll start with Brendan Plowen from the Denver Post.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Pádraig. Thanks for the time today. Sorry I couldn't make it in person. Pádraig, first of all, again, congrats on being a new father. And Chris, welcome to Colorado.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brendan. Appreciate it.
Sure. So, Chris, also I have two questions, one for each of you. Chris, you arrived in Colorado at a time that could be considered a crossroads for this franchise. As you mentioned in your opening statement, 2 seasons removed from being top of the West, but 2023 was the worst season in Rapids history. And, the fan base was frustrated where they organized a walkout en masse in mid-September. Squad-wise, the club is now moving on from its longtime captain, its talisman, and key veterans who were really valued within that locker room. And as you know, what remains is a young team with a point to prove to just about everyone who loves soccer across the state and in the MLS. So, Chris, with that being said, when you were weighing all of these factors, how much self-reflecting or even soul-searching did you do to come to the conclusion that you felt ready to take on this role? And really, why the Rapids? And Pádraig, just a quick follow-up, just in working with Chris over the last number of weeks, if you can provide an anecdote or an example that's kind of reinforced that belief that he's the right man for this job. Thank you.
Well, you said a lot of key words in there. That is exactly why I wanted to come here. Good young players, you said. You said the team has been part of winning. So if you really, if in a nutshell, it's almost how I started this. A tremendous ownership group, a hungry group of young players with ability to add players. And we have people that have done that. It's not the first time. They've built a roster here that's been successful. So it's smart people that can build a roster, a young, hungry group to build around, collaborative efforts with me involved in the recruitment process, a tremendous recruitment team, I promise you. The way they dig deep and look at players, character, analytics, it's tremendous. So it gives me a lot of confidence that this is going to take off. The last part of that is what I said before. It's a fan base that's the 12th man. I've seen it as a player. I've been here, and I've been a coach in this building. They don't like it. I like it now, but I didn't like it coming here. And part of it was the altitude. I think there is a physical, for sure, and psychological effect, but they get behind the team. So with all those reasons, for me, it's a tremendous club.
Brendan, in terms of what you kind of posed to me, I don't think there's maybe any single anecdote. It's just been the work that's taken place has been exactly what we expected. I think as we embarked on this process, we knew we were looking for three things. We wanted to bring in a leader. We wanted to bring in somebody who had a shared, philosophy, and then we wanted to bring in somebody who was going to help us develop. And I think the best thing for me over the first few weeks has just been how much that's been evidenced in pretty much every conversation we've had, and the consistency in that messaging. I think that's terrifically important, and I know you want to start off on a very, very strong note, and I think that's certainly what we've done. So without any individual anecdote being there, I think it's just been the consistency of the expectation being met that's been very positive from our perspective.
Perfect. We'll move to Jonathan Siegel, MLS.
Hey guys, thanks for the time. And Pádraig, just one for you as we get going here. Obviously, there's a lot still to come for this club this winter for every team in this league. What do you or how do you feel Chris is the right guy to help bring this team back? And there's fans who are understandably a little frustrated kind of with this past season. How far do you think Colorado is from that? And I'll point to, we have Cincinnati in a conference final this weekend. They will be polite and stay down on their luck for a few years. So this league can change quickly. But how far is Colorado from that? And how does Chris help you get there?
It's funny. I think in some of these questions, you're actually giving us some of the answers. It's great. Like, you're dead right. Cincinnati have turned things around very quickly, and we've seen how possible that is in this league. I think as well, we're trying to reconnect with something that is quite recent. The success that we had in the latter half of 19, 20, 21. I think the reasons why we believe in Chris go back to, again, the reasons in terms of why we wanted to bring somebody in of this caliber. We were very clear. We felt that we needed to bring in a leader into that locker room area, somebody who would help us raise the standards downstairs, or we say downstairs looking from here, but someone who would help drive the standards forward, drive a culture in there, and return an element of competitiveness to that locker room that was missing over the last 2 years. I think building relationships, providing the North Star, and then driving the culture and standards was critically important. You then look at the shared ideology or the shared vision and the shared philosophy, and I think we've shown that we can generate success and we can have success when we have good alignment right the way across the organization. That was critical for us, that we brought in somebody who shared our vision, who shared the way we see the game. And in Chris, we know we found someone who can do that. We've talked for a long time about the need in this league, in soccer in general, but in this league in particular, to be dominant in two key areas, dominant in transitions and dominant on set pieces. And I don't think there's a better proponent of transition football than Chris domestically. And I think we understood that when we brought him in, we were going to have somebody who not only believed in that, but knew exactly how to execute that, knew how to get players to buy into that, knew how to get players to perform that day in and day out. And then the development part. It's not just about a drive to youth movement, which we're obviously very keen on and committed to at this club, but it's about developing every player. And again, Chris showed throughout the course of the process and during every conversation that we had, a commitment to that and a drive to develop players, to help them get better and to help them reach their full potential. So I think right the way through the conversations we had with Chris, we knew we were getting somebody who not only ticked, but really excelled in all of the critical areas that we were looking to fill. And then the final piece for me was really the conversations I had with other people. It's really important to us when we're bringing people into our group, because we believe that we win as a collective, whether that's players on the field or our staff off the field. We want to get the right people. And again, everybody I spoke to about Chris talked about him being just an incredible individual, someone who was going to connect with our players, connect with our supporters, connect with our staff to get the best out of this group as a whole. And when I spoke to some top players, both here and in Europe, the way they spoke about his coaching style and how he connected with them gave me great confidence that we were getting the right person in for this role.
Hi, Chris. Matt Pollard. I'm the managing editor of Burgundy Wave. This first question might seem to have some venom to it. That's not my intent. In a lot of ways, I'm
ready, Matt.
okay.
You can come, brother.
In a lot of
It's
ways,
okay.
I am a conduit and an instrument for the fan base. So there's a number of Rapid supporters I've heard from who were underwhelmed by your appointment, and so they look at the way things ended in New York and the way things ended in Toronto. You were an assistant in 2 opportunities in England, Manchester United, lofty expectations. You guys fell short as a group there, and then relegation at Leeds. Help the Rapid supporter who is underwhelmed by your appointment understand how you're a better coach today than you were July of 2021.
It's not too bad, Matt. I mean, that's all you got, brother? That's all you got? Look, the first thing I'd say to our fans is I understand that, they might not be the happiest right now for lots of reasons. Maybe myself, maybe the team, where they are in the table. I love sport. I've been part of sport. I've been a fan. I'm a fan. So I understand exactly how they feel. How should they feel, right? They lifted the trophy a few years ago. So the first part is that I understand it. The second thing is, we can talk about certain experiences that I've had in the league in New York. I think was really successful. But I think the key thing about all my different stops on the football journey is that I've learned along the way, and that I'm ready more now than I've ever been. And in New York, I was there almost 6 years. I learned how to coach. I learned what goes into it. I feel like I could be a video analyst right now. I can cut video. I can match plan. I can run sessions. I can design it. But most importantly, in New York, I spent time in Germany every offseason, learning, growing, philosophy around the Ralph Rangnicks, the Marco Rosa, Julian Nagelsmann, Jesse Marsh. So I've been learning all along. It took that experience with me to Toronto, and this is a difficult situation, but okay, you also can learn from these moments to how to work hard under pressure, how to keep teams together, how to dig deep and stand as tall as I can. But this was a tough situation. I think many people who were there understand that. And in Manchester United, I mean, it's heaven sent for me. Again, I'm someone that's coming to work every day to give as much as I can, but I'm also smart enough to listen and watch. Ralph Rangnick, top manager. We can see what he's doing now in Austria, the way he handles players, top players, the way he can manage media, the way he talks about the game and our game model. If you're smart, you watch players at Manchester United, you can learn a lot. Conversations, watch training, you can pick up a lot, which I did. And most of all, even the Premier League, the game plans, the nuances in game, structures, different structures in games. I learned a lot over there. I wasn't at Leeds United very long. If you want to put me part of their relegation battle, not so sure. But yeah, I think also what I learned at Leeds, even for a few months, was exactly what I'm doing now. It's how I ran into Keith this morning, and I knew your name. I looked at a sheet yesterday. I'm trying to learn names. But at Leeds United, it was how quickly this thing's moving. They are in a relegation battle. I got to quickly get up to speed, learn names. What's the chef's name? Who takes care of the pitch? And I did that. I did it quickly, and I'm already doing it here. So I could take something with me from every experience. And I promised the fan base, look, I know how to coach. My superpower, listen, I know football. Of course, I'm learning all the time, but I know people and I know competition. Just give us some time. I understand their frustration, and I think we're going to make them proud. Yeah.
Chris, nice to meet you. I'm Connor Cape, Altitude Sports Radio. You kind of alluded to it earlier by saying that the team's going to be an attacking team, but what are some of the hallmarks or the traits of a Chris Armas team?
Yeah, Keith, that's good. This is now we get to some of the fun stuff. I wish that we had the tactics board. We can go through some things and some video. But listen, I think in a simple way, the Chris Armas team, we're going to play with intensity. So the playing style revolves around intensity. In possession, it's proactive with an emphasis on verticality. So when we have the ball, we want players that can play forward, players that can play between lines within a structure, but we want to attack when we have the ball. So we'll have to recalibrate what good passes are. It's not necessarily just a connected pass. We want players looking forward, players that can sprint into attack. The same intensity when we don't have the ball. It's proactive defending, the emphasis on pressing and counter-pressing. So there's an intensity piece to when we have the ball and we don't have the ball. We want to put teams in tough games, right? It's faster games than they want to be in. And we want to use transition. I know how to coach transition. I know how to set teams up to force mistakes. I know it. I know it from all sports in our country. Bill Belichick, most games are lost, not won. So I'm a coach that believes and knows how to force mistakes. High pressing, mid block, force mistakes. Use transition moments when we win the ball to go, when we lose the ball to win it back, and then use those same moments to go. So that's in a nutshell the Chris Armas team. It requires intensity and buy-in, the right players that we have, a nice core group, the ones we're going to add. That we look for rule breakers, guys that some players just want more concerned with their possession, percentage. We want guys that are fearless to play forward and attack.
Hey guys, Mitchell Carroll with DMVR Sports. Pádraig, when you look at the reported finalists for this job, it was a lot of, you could call them coaching prospects, guys that haven't had a chance to run a team yet, where Chris has. Do you feel like that maybe shortens the runway on how fast fans should be expecting success, or maybe pressure on your job? And Chris, it was reported that you came in with a plan specific to players here and not just your coaching philosophy. What were some of those players that stood out to you in your prep for the interviews and sort of plans to make them successful in 2024?
So I think I'm conscious of who I'm speaking to right now in terms of the media, but not everything that was reported was necessarily true either. I think that's worth noting. I think as we said at the start, there were a number of factors that we were going to look at here, but the key three were that the leadership qualities, the ability to have a consistent approach from a game model perspective, and then the player development. But you do then look at pieces like experience. You do look at their experience within the league and their experience in general. And there was just no doubt from our perspective that Chris was best positioned to come in and affect this team in the shortest time possible, but more importantly, with longevity in mind and with the idea of really riding the ship and getting us back to where we were a couple of years ago. So I think for us, we're very clear about what our expectations are. We expect to be back in the playoffs next year. That's what we're looking for. And that was certainly something that was front of mind as we went through this entire process.
Again, I was searching and looking for a hungry group. Hungry to play a certain way, but open to something different, something that requires a togetherness and real energy. So I'll give you maybe four. Rafa Navarro. For me, yes, it's easy to look at a striker and say, just look at the goals or assists, but watching what he gives to the team, the way he celebrates goals when his teammates are scoring, when teammates are missing a simple pass to him for a tap-in, his body language. So I said, working with a guy like that, it's interesting. And he presses and runs and fights for the team. Cole Bassett's a guy that's come through. He loves the club. He covers ground. He can arrive and score goals. These guys you love to coach. They're just willing. They play for the team, but they have some football in them. So he's, and I know, again, the homegrown part of it's important. Connor Ronan, I can see easily when you watch him, why is he a fan favorite? Why does he have so much respect from his teammates? Well, I say the only players we don't like are the ones we can't find. He's never hiding. He always wants the ball. He'll play forward. He's brilliant on set pieces, covers ground, loves a forward pass. So it's an exciting thought. And listen, to give credit to the staff, Moise Bombitos, they played him. I think we could all get excited about a center back that can, for me, first, put out fires, defend with real pride. He has a real enjoyment that comes across the way he plays. He loves to play. It looks like that to me. And he's comfortable with the ball at his feet. He can break lines. He's also a guy that can build with him. So those are four, and there's others. But that group really gets me excited to work with this team.
Pat Radigan, Footy at 5280. I know you said you watched the games a lot last year on TV, and rather than giving you one of the answers, as has been referenced before, I'll give you some context here. I was down there. I was right in front of those fans, and I heard them very vocally have a drastically different opinion than you on the ownership and the man sitting next to you. So with that in mind, I'll just ask directly here. You mentioned winning the ball back, being forward, breaking lines, forward players. In this league, those players come with a price tag. So given that support, do you think that there needs to be a shift in how the club pursues players, the type of players that they're pursuing, and the top line budget for those players to give the fans what they want with the current setup?
Again, you were there, I wasn't, so I know that was the reality. So I'll say it again. I understand that why they might not have been totally happy with what they're seeing. So then, what should they say? How do they deal with that emotion? I get that, but I will say this, and I've only gotten to see it now and experience it. I've sat in for hours and hours in roster meetings, and again, I'm sitting with people who've done this before. And it's not so easy to flip it around just to get the right players, but they're working hard at that. There's intelligent people who've done that before that have a real plan in place, a real process, which gives me a lot of confidence that, yes, we're going to bring in the right players. And, yeah, we're not going to name the players now, but we're going to have a good team in 2024. We are. And, yeah, it's up to him to get the money sorted out. Come on. But we're going to have a good team, and we're going to have a team that can play. It's not just verticality and long ball. We're going to play some football. We're going to keep the ball, quick, short combinations with an eye forward, good reactions, and we're going to build that roster with the core group that we have now that can play that way. Just give us some time, I think, and we're going to see all that come to life. But I have a lot of confidence in the folks here. I've seen the work, and the past shows that as well.
Hi, Chris. Keith Fisher's team, NBS Media. Given that you said so far that you came in with a certain philosophy and what you had in mind, and having maybe a little time to look at the roster and what the team has at the moment. As of right now, what is one of the things that you think is really good about the team, and one thing that you think will be a challenge?
Well, I would say that the thing that I like about the team is that there's a nice core group of young, intelligent, hungry players that I know they're open. I can see their behaviors on the field that play with energy, and that's going to be important for the way we want to play. Those same guys value the team, and for me, I'm not going to have 20 words on the wall that I really push, but one is going to be team first. And I see a lot of team first guys there that I mentioned, Rafa and Cole Bassett. These guys run for the team. So that's what I like about the team that I've seen, the individual qualities, as I spoke about before. Listen, to maybe name something we're going to improve is, I think, the structure. We're going to play with organization and structure. It's going to be key what we do with the ball and without the ball. It's going to help us play with verticality and attack, but I think defensively the structure can be tighter. So if you want to force mistakes, you have to have closer connections. So it makes for effective pressing and counter-pressing. If the distances are too far, you're kind of on your own a little bit. So I know this really well. In my time in New York, we led the league in winning balls in the attacking and middle third. And this was from the connections and the intensity with the right players. So I think right away we can get the distances right from a defensive organization standpoint, and then go from there.
We'll go back to Jonathan Siegel, MLS. We'll go to Jacob Toby, 9 News.
All the way in the back. Coach, welcome to Denver. It's a hungry city right now. It's a successful sports city right now with the Nuggets and Avs, and the Broncos are kind of coming on. How much does that make you want to win even more, to be a part of that success? That's the first thing. And the second thing is, you mentioned Cole. How much of this homegrown success do you want to continue with the club?
We're a club that's going to push the young players. The young players don't let you down. You just got to give them a chance. We believe in the young players. We believe in what Brian, Chris at the club from underneath are doing. We really think philosophically we're going to push young guys. They also play sometimes with the fearless nature. They like playing forward and attacking with aggressiveness. So, yeah, we're going to continue that and even add to it if possible. I had got my first 3 victories yesterday outside here in the stadium. Tech ball, these kids were playing, these 14-year-olds, and I had my backpack and boots on. Well, not soccer boots, but dress boots, and I got invited to play. I won 3 games, proudly to say that. I lost 1 to these 14-year-old guys from the academy. The point is, there's not a game out there that I'm not going to hop in on and try to win. I'm not a rah-rah guy, and it's not how I am, but there's a burning desire that has helped me in my career as a player and a coach succeed. And the last part of that is the ownership group here. They're winners. They understand how to win. They know how to put that in place, the culture, to get the right people in place to drive that. So, yeah, like, we got to get back to that. I'm not happy where we're at, but I'm really hopeful where this thing is going, and winning is the goal. Winning is the goal. It's earlier I said, yeah, the things that attracted me, there was a real desire and hunger to get back to that. So I'm all in on that, and yeah, we want to be up there with the rest of the pro organizations here, and it's our turn. It's our turn.
Brendan Ploen, Denver Post.
Hi, Coach Armas now. What are your thoughts on the Rapids 2 guys who just came off of an historic season, and your view on how Next Pro can impact the first team, maybe from tape or the conversations with Ryan Crookham you've had? Are guys from that team contenders to make your squad in 2024?
Well, again, I've come up through a system where we rely on young players, and they're important for teams, and especially for our team. Again, the playing style for what our club's going to be all about here. Yeah, we've had discussions. I've been really interested to learn more about some of the young guys, Oliver Larraz, some of the guys, Sebastian Anderson. It's critical that those guys train with us. They get the reps with us, the messaging, what the top sessions feel like, video sessions, the whole bit, but oftentimes getting them the games that platform provides is important. It's how you get to see players where they really are in matches. Yeah, it's a different level. We understand that, but we're really going to put emphasis on what's coming through with our academy and our second team.
Morning, Chris. Hey, Pádraig.
How are you?
Welcome to the correct sideline. Welcome back, I should say. Would you mind just giving us an idea of what are some of the first steps that you're looking to take, or maybe tasks to take care of, get you guys ready to go to hit the ground running before preseason? And Pádraig, please feel free to add anything on your agenda. Will, I apologize. Brian Jennings, also with Burgundy Wave.
Yeah, Brian, thank you. For me, it's really clear right now what these first 30 days, 60, 90, critical to right away, and I'm doing it every day already, the culture piece, to really start pushing that, right? However you show up every day and the interactions, that starts to become your culture. So right away, integrating myself with the club and then adding to that. But the most important thing right now is with Pádraig and Fran to think about the roster. This is a big opportunity that we have, again, to build around the really nice pieces that we have. The next thing is just to round out the coaching staff, which we will announce at the right time. But getting the right people, and we have some really, really good ones here, I can say that. But that's an important step for me right now. And the last piece, which is the fun stuff, which is the philosophy. Like, it's not just to bring something and it doesn't just appear, right? It's strategic. It requires coaching and repeating that and video and style of play. So when we can pick up sprinting on day one, those are the 3 main things that are on my mind every day. Okay, thanks, Brian.
Yeah, I think, Brian, the only thing I'd add is kind of things that you and I have spoken about, and I've spoken about at large before, is that realignment piece. I think that's absolutely critical. And as I said before, we've had success when everybody has been aligned and we've had that shared vision. So I think there's been, a considerable amount of time spent on that, not just in the recruitment of a coach who shared that, but in ensuring that everything around the organization was truly back realigned with where we had been in the past.
Bork, the club announced the end-of-year roster decisions earlier this week. Walk me through the decisions that led to Rodriguez departing from the club, and then what's going on with the 3 players you're currently in negotiations with.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to come, I would say, on that, Matt. Like, obviously by tomorrow there's certain deadlines within an MLS off-season. You have to hit these deadlines, but negotiations continue on for an extended period of time. We're close on a couple of those guys. I would expect those to be done in the next few days, to be honest, with some of the younger guys. Others that are more experienced are looking at other options, perhaps, and just talking to other teams, and we'll move through that. But even some of the guys that are on the team currently, in terms of contracted for next year, there'll be more players moving on as well. So I think, as Chris alluded to, we feel like we have a very, very nice, strong core in place and some really key pieces that we can build around. But we've got to make sure that we're bringing in the right pieces now. And that goes back to the alignment that we spoke about, making sure that we are focused on these players that have pace, power, personality, and play with urgency, intensity, and boldness, and not deviating from that, and not taking another player for a different reason, but being very focused in on that. With Abe's been a terrific part of this club for a long time, coming right the way through the academy, and then has seen some action at the first team level as well. So we didn't feel like that was an option that we wanted to pick up at this point in time. But we'll continue to look at that as we look to round out our entire roster.
Chris, you kind of alluded to this a little earlier, a minute ago, talking about how important the first 30, 60, 90 days are. But what does the collaboration look like with the front office about implementing your system and style of play and also recruiting players?
Well, listen, it's only because I've been part of those meetings I can say, yes, this is underway. This has been every day we're at it. Every single day we're having discussions, deliberate meetings to take steps forward. But specifically with our scouts, it's a robust department. I've been in those meetings and there's a lot of back and forth, good discussions. There's real strategy when you're looking at players, and there's the tactical, physical, psychological. There's all the different parts of players we're looking at that fit our way. So, we stop those meetings here and there and say, guys, let's really the guys that can play this way, and everyone's open to it. It's not going to be, Fran's player, and then if the player doesn't, we're going to be really collaborative. Like, this is our player, this is how it has to work. It's the only way. So it's been really impressive to see what goes on behind the scenes and the process that they use. I mentioned it before, the analytics piece, and it's the eye test, and then putting it all together to find the right ones that fit moving forward.
Kind of piggybacking Matt's question about end of year roster stuff, with Jack Bryce, the captain, leaving, and Diego Rubio leaving, you lose obviously a lot of leadership, a lot of on-field vocal leadership. What are sort of some of the plans to replace that? Is it internal? Are you looking at that through free agency or transfers? And sort of, did that factor into Chris, as you've noted, his leadership skills and his kind of locker room presence? Did that factor into the hire, losing those 2 players?
I think those 2 players, it's worthwhile me just thanking both of them straight off the bat for what they've done for the club over an extended period of time. I think Jack's record speaks for itself. And I think as you look back over the last 2 years, you can trace a particularly large element of the fact that the team didn't do so well on the field to the fact that both of those guys were unavailable for a large period of time. I think when it comes to it, the reasons for moving on from certain players, there was an element with Price where he wanted to go back home. He's about to have a second child, and I think we'll see what happens with him over the next little while in terms of which clubs he goes to there. With Diego, we felt that Diego had been an incredible player for this club and had some really good seasons and then some tougher ones from an injury perspective. And as we looked to realign the philosophy and the game model, and as we looked at what Chris was going to bring in and the demands that were going to be placed on players to perform in that area, we felt that it was the right time for us to make a change. In terms of the mechanisms, in terms of how we'll bring in players to replace them, we're going to leave no stone unturned there. You know, we're looking at players that are coming from abroad. We're looking at domestic players. We're looking at free agents. Obviously, we've got players within the system that are very talented, and as Chris said, we'll get an opportunity as well. But for those two roles in particular, they're key roles. I mean, you're talking about the team's number 6 and leader, and you're talking about the key number 10 attacking midfielder. So I think for both of those roles, you're going to see players come in that I think are players. We've talked about that, Chris and I. We want our players to walk back in next year and go, well, okay, we've added some real talent here. But our supporters as well will look at this and see, okay, these are guys that are going to help elevate the team right the way across the board.
Last one from me, Chris. Players, coaches, front office, I mean, media, there's no guarantee of longevity in pro sports. It's a competitive environment everywhere you go, and you've made a heck of a career of it, as Pádraig laid out at the beginning of this. Is there anything like in your youth, in your background, your personality that you can attribute to your ability to stick around in pro sports and succeed at this level?
I just love competition, and as I tell my kids, and I'll tell my boys in the locker room that, yeah, even for a press conference, there's nerves, you know, but that's okay. You have to almost embrace that. There's not a whole lot of things in all of our lives that really bring that out, and I relish it. I really love the competition, you know, challenging to see how good I can be and how I can be within a team and lead guys. So there's a difference between nerves and fear. You know, that can stifle you and paralyze you at different moments. But listen, I've always been competitive. I've always been part of sport. I love the competition. I love the challenge part of it. I love being part of teams and organizations with good people and hungry people. So, yeah, when you're a competitor like me, you love the challenge and you get up for it really quickly. So I don't worry too much in the future because I really try to be good at controlling every single day what I can do. I'm a worker. I'm a fighter. I'm on a team of workers and fighters. I know I have that next to me here, and the team will reflect that. And that gives you the confidence, you know. That gives you the confidence in tough games. It gives you the confidence when things get tough. But it gives me energy to wake up every day, to go to work, to hit a home run with these guys, to training, video, and repeat it. I got a big tank to do it. I've done it before, and I'm going to do it again.
All right, it's been a while since we've had these press conferences, so I came off a little too cynical in the first way I wanted to approach it. So I'll try and do a little bit better on this one. And I don't mean to say this as a form of comparison. I don't think that does us any good to compare it before. But I just wanted to bring it up in the fact that in terms of on-field playing style, your predecessor, I think, scared some of us and members of the media with his center back kind of outlook and kind of how he composed himself. But you come across as the kind of player that I would hate to play against because you would be trying to figure things out, be trying to work through stuff, and you're the kind of guy that has that kind of insufferable positivity, if you will, in a way. So as the guy who's done that so much professionally, seen it as an assistant coach, seen it with players, seen it with development, what do you think, building off of what you just answered as a competitor, as a person, but as a soccer person, as who you've been as a player and a coach, what do you think that your dynamic can bring to a team that's looking to pivot and rebuild in this way?
Yeah. Look, it's the leadership piece that I have. It's a coaching style, not a playing style, but it's a coaching style. So it's before a style of play, it's really being able to connect with the individual, really understanding each player, who they are, letting them be them, making them comfortable, but having standards. Like every player, Drew Moore, I see sitting back there, they know more than anyone. They like standards. They like it to be tough. They want to be coached, and I understand how to do that. I've done it with the Tyler Adams, these players where they need to be coached, and I know how to do that every single day. And my staff will do the same. We'll have a staff that can coach the individual, because that ultimately is the goal. Of course, we want to win games, and we're going to, but can you get the most out of each human being and player? And then put that into how it fits in with the team. And then you start talking tactics and then it gets really fun. But that's to understand coach the individual, how it fits into the team and a playing style. And then the last piece of that becomes really important, because if you get those two right, and then you create an environment where players are scared, they don't feel comfortable, that you never can see how good they are. So I've done that. I've tried to create that environment where players and staff love coming to work, but they understand also, if you're coming to work, we're going to work, and it's going to be tough conversations sometimes, but we have standards. And I think I have a good way to balance that out, to be tough on guys, but to give them a hug, because I think I know how they feel. And again, if you know them, if you know them as people, I think you have a better chance. So putting those three together, it's something I'm comfortable doing. Sure.
We will go to Brendan Plowen, Denver Post, for our final question.
Oh, thanks, Emilio. Chris, just, I guess kind of for maybe historical context, how far does the impetus to press and be an elite transition team to go back? I remember, your Chicago Fire days and those great teams you're on, and kind of did your ideas as a coach maybe start when you were first as a player and then has only continued to grow, or how far back does it go? Thank you.
I think I was pressing and counter-pressing when I was 4 years old, actually. I've always seen it that way. I've always seen the game that way, to make it hard to play against. That's how I was as a player. I never got to play against Zidane. And maybe I would have if I got injured before the World Cup. But, I always said, if I play against him, I'm going to make it really hard. I don't know why guys stay so far away. Why not really make him earn it? My dad would always say, make him earn it, it's in my DNA. And then I got exposed to the type of football in New York that, it wasn't one way. A lot of people talk about Red Bull football. There's so many different layers in there and different coaching styles within that, but with key common principles of playing against the ball. So it's not necessarily just high pressing, it's just an idea of against the ball, whether it's high press, mid block, even low block at times, having clarity and having guys that are clear to execute that. So it's just been in me for a really long time. And my teams will reflect that. They have in the past, and they will here, that we will be a team that's hard to play against. And that's getting really on the same page, getting the right players that not just do it because you ask, but they love to do it, that this is our way, and they buy into that. But it's in my DNA for a long time.
We will conclude the press conference there. We'd like to thank you for attending.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.